Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mind, Your Reality, Your Results, a weekly live show where I speak with an expert in the subject of mindset so you can change your mindset and ultimately get the amazing results that you want in your life. I'm so glad to be welcoming Jennifer to the show today.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, fantastic. You guys will definitely want to be able to take advantage of Jennifer's expertise. So please do feel free to put your comments and questions in that comment box and we can get to them during the show. Even if you're not watching this live and you want to put your comments and questions in after the fact, we can still get back to you with some answers. So I'm really excited to start. So let's jump right in.
All right, perfect.
Jennifer, by telling us about how you got to be a excellent decision maker.
Well, actually, it was more of an evolution on and what I do. I grew up with a lot of anxiety. I grew up with a lot of, I don't know if I'm making the right decision. I don't know if what should I do? And, a lot of hand wringing because nothing in my life was ever clear cut. And I'm an empath, which means I feel people's emotions. So I was always feeling other people's decisions and other people's energies, not really realizing I'm like 57 now. I didn't realize I was an empath. I didn't realize I was taking on people's energies until I was in my 40s. And when I had a definition for it. And then I went, oh, that's what's going on. That's the reason, one of the reasons why I couldn't make a good decision. So it really started me on a journey of finding a way to be able to make a good decision that fit within my energy and it fit within my body and it fit within my knowledge base at that time. So it was really a journey, a long journey of self-exploration and self-discovery and learning. And whenever I had a question, whenever I had something that needed to be done, needed to be healed, I was like, how does that work? I would ask questions and teachers would show up. The old adage, when the student is ready, the teacher will come, really was how I became what I do now. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. And I think a lot of people can probably empathize or relate to that idea of hand wringing, anxious decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People are scared to make the right decision, they're scared to make the wrong decision. It's just a nervesome thing to know that you have to decide something.
It is because when we were younger, well, when I was younger, there wasn't as much choice. The internet didn't exist. Cell phones didn't
Yeah.
exist. You were tethered to a wall if you wanted to call somebody, and you had to remember their phone number, and their email didn't exist. You actually had to get a pen and paper and write something down, put a stamp on it, and actually mail it. So now it's like, where do I contact you? You have 4 emails. Like I have 4 emails. I know people who have 10 emails for various things in their life.
Yeah.
So there's so much more choice that it's so easy just to go, I don't know where to focus. I don't know where to put my energy. So the tips that I'm going to give you today are hopefully will help you ease that anxiety and create confidence in your decision making. So that's why.
Totally. Well, I'm very excited for that. Choice paralysis is a real thing, and they've actually shown that the more choices people are given, the less happy they are with the outcome. Even if
Yeah.
the choice, the option itself is better, more aligned to what they want, there's more of that FOMO, right? The regret
Mm-hmm.
of what you didn't take. You're always going to compare it to more things. So I absolutely love
Absolutely.
this. And just to start off, I think the definition we really need to start with is, first of all, what is a good decision?
That actually is a very interesting question. When you asked me that earlier before we started, I was like, "Ooh, what does a good decision make?" Because we were always told, at least I was by my parents, you need to make a good decision about this. And
Yeah.
for the most part in our society, it's a very logical progression of, okay, I'm going to go to I have the choice between 2 schools, and it's all very um here's to this, here's to this, here's to this, here's to this. And for me, a good decision is one that makes me feel good and makes me feel like, oh, okay, this is the right decision for me, not necessarily what's the right decision for somebody else. So a good decision is one that aligns with one, your purpose, and or what you want to create in your life, whatever that creation is. And it helps make it easier to progress beyond just the, okay, I'm going to think logically about this. I'm going to go from point A to point B to point C. Sometimes that good decision may lead you down a path. You're like, why am I here? What am I doing here? And then, oh, here's another decision. So, I mean, I've made decisions in my life that have led me down. I mean, I'm here because of one decision. And that decision in college, I was attending the University of Iowa, and I had the opportunity to attend the University of Southern California at Long Beach. And I decided to stay in Iowa. And that one decision changed my entire life, because I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met the people that put me on my path, literally put me on my path, because they were here in Iowa. My teachers were here, not somewhere else. So, at the time I was like, oh, I missed out on an opportunity. But then when I grew up meaning past my 20s, I realized that was actually the best decision I could have ever made, because it actually aligned with what my purpose was, even though I didn't even know what my purpose was at that time. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And in that answer, I think you touched on something really important when we talk about decision making, is who is making the decision for who. So for example,
Exactly.
last week I had a fantastic parental coach on the show who was talking about, obviously, some of the challenges with raising kids and conflict in families. And I think about a lot of people's decisions are guided by, their parents, their boss, other friends and peers that they're listening to. Maybe even when there's a little bit of that nagging gut feeling that this isn't right, feeling that external pressure. Is that something you see a lot with the people that you're helping?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to give you an example. For me, is feeling that external pressure is when I was choosing what my major was going to be, I had the choice of either communications or theater. And my choice was theater. My parents' choice was communications, because they saw more job opportunities than theater. Because if you look at the unemployment rate of people who are in theater, it's like 90%. So there's not a lot of opportunities, and even the pandemic took that even lower. However, what I learned in theater not only is a massive work ethic and how people behave and what are their motivations behind their behavior, and I wouldn't have learned that had I done communication studies. And that knowledge has kept me in business, because that's what I look for with my clients, is why are you behaving the way you're behaving, and why are you making those decisions, and what's driving those decisions, and is there something getting in the way of you making a good decision or a good choice about your life instead of a negative one. So yeah, I understand external pressure a lot. So it's a good way of really looking at why you're making those decisions. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Internal motivation is absolutely critical. And, one thing I'm thinking as you were saying that is, do you also get a lot of people who want some surety, right? You talk about, like, now you can look back, of course, on those decisions and go, well, that was the right thing, and I feel good about it. And of course, I'm guessing you can. I definitely can look back on some of my decisions and go,
Ooh. You know,
True.
oh,
Uh,
maybe not was that. Maybe I should have chosen something else.
maybe
Yeah,
a slightly different choice. So,
yeah.
is there anything that you could say that help maybe reassure people? Um, to help relieve some of that fear that goes into decision making.
Everything that we do, every choice that we make, is a learning experience. So when I have clients go, oh, I just can't make a good, I don't know. What should I choose? If I do this, this is going to happen. If I don't do this, this is going to happen. And I'm like, okay, let's stop. Let's take a good deep breath, like in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's put you in a different brainwave state where you're more relaxed, which is what I'm going to show you how to do today. And let's stop and, okay, you made a bad decision, or what you think is a bad decision. What did you learn from it? And most people are like, oh, I'm stupid. I can't. I'm like, no, 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 no. What did you learn from it? How did it benefit you? And how did it not benefit you? And then you can stop, and instead of being in that crazy brain, you can stop, take a good deep breath and go, oh, well, I learned this. I learned that's not what I want to do. And I tell my clients, sometimes learning what not to do is just as important as learning what to do. Because learning what not to do is going to take you into a whole different direction. And it's kind of exciting to learn what direction that might be.
I love that. That reminds me of a really beautiful reframe. I know some people don't like everything happens for a reason,
Hmm.
but I really like the kind of switch around of it, which is you can take reason from everything that happens. To me, that
I
really
like
speaks
that.
to the piece of, take everything as this learning growth opportunity instead of, I'm so stupid and I failed and spiral down of thoughts.
Because I mean, some of our greatest failures, if you look, we just had the Olympics. And if you listen to their bios, some of the backstory, every single one of them had things that they had to overcome and they had to learn. So everything to them was a learning experience. And if you look at your life as a set of learning experiences and really take a good long look at that, you'd be amazed at how awesome you actually are and what lessons that you learned because of whatever happened to you, or whatever decision you did or didn't make, whatever path you took or didn't take. So it's pretty spectacular when you have a client go to, wait a minute, I learned strength, I learned that didn't work out, I learned courage, I learned how to redirect myself, I learned how to step out of the drama. I learned how to put boundaries from, I made a bad decision and people took advantage of me. And now I know how to recognize that, and I have discernment. So if you stop and take a breath and look around, you've actually acquired a lot of good virtues that will put you in good stead later on in life.
If people took nothing else from this show, just that piece about that learning, that failing forward and continuing would be a gem. But I know you have some other tips and tools you wanted to teach us. So would you like to share those?
Yes. I am going to teach you a few tools from a modality called access consciousness. It is a huge modality. It has body processes and language processes, and it's designed to help you um, figure out what's getting in your way. And in these few processes, you're going to figure out and feel more confident about your decision making, because you're going to have, for me, everything is energy. I feel like, as an empath, I feel people's energy, and most people do as well. They're just not taught what to look for. So the first one is, um, when you're looking at a decision, when you have a choice, should I go with product A? Should I go with product B? Or what service. It doesn't matter what the question is or what you're looking at. You just ask yourself. So take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. We're just going to do that 3 times. And as you do, just breathe in incredible love energy and breathe out all that anxiety. And if you do that 3 times, that's going to put you into an alpha brainwave. And in an alpha brainwave, so this is the someone who needs a logical point of view for you to say yes. That's actually the brainwave that you go into when you're just drifting off to sleep, or when you just kind of realize that you're resting. So we are more aware of what's going on in the outside world, even though on the inside world, we're resting. So if you do that, just take 3 good breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, deep breaths, so where that you're expanding your lungs, and just ask yourself, which decision makes you feel heavy and which decision makes you feel light? Heavy or light? Very simple. And people go, well, how do I know what's lighter? How do I know what's heavier? And if you immediately, sometimes you'll hear that, no, absolutely not. Or, hey, that sounds like a great idea. Or, ooh, that makes me feel good. Ooh, I'm excited about that. Ooh, I want to hear more about that. And if you're in that ooh stage, that's lighter. So that's telling you that's the choice, or that's the decision you have to make. And that's kind of what I did, even though I didn't know I was doing that. That's what I did when I was choosing whether I should stay at the University of Iowa or go to University of Southern California, Long Beach. It felt very heavy. It didn't feel right to me. To take that leap. And I'm originally from California. So it was like, for me, it was like me going home, even though I grew up here in Iowa. But it felt heavy. So to me, the opportunity to stay at Iowa and have a beautiful new theater building and have beautiful new stages to play on, that was let's see where that takes me. So, and then sometimes you'll feel it in your body. Sometimes you'll like get a pain. You're like, oh, where did that pain come from? Oh, that gave me a headache. If you're getting pains in your body when you're trying to make a decision, that is like shaking you, going, don't do this. Don't do this. But if you're like, oh, this makes me want to skip, and this brings me joy, and oh, that makes me happy, that's where you want to follow it, no matter how crazy it is, because you never know where that's going to take you, and you never know who you're going to meet along that path. Someone somewhere along the way. So if I hadn't stayed, I would have never met the people that put me on this holistic healing path, and I would not be the coach or the mentor that I am today. So does that make sense? Any questions about that?
Yeah, well, it definitely makes sense. And I have a big question perhaps. So Darlene's joined us and she's saying this would be so good for her clients. Now I know that Darlene works with scam prevention, right? She's helping people not be taken in by scams. And one of the things that we know with scammers is they play a lot on that emotional side.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any tips for someone who's facing, all decisions are emotional, but let's say on one side you have this handsome man online who's telling you all these sweet lovey things, and part of that does feel, of course, light and exciting. But there's that gut feeling, right, that's going, is this right? I haven't seen his face, whatever that looks like. There's a whole variety, but when people are really caught up in that emotional space, is this something that still is able to kind of take them away from that, or is there another tip you'd add?
Well, here's what I would say about that. My mother worked for the Better Business Bureau, and she tracked down many scammers around the country and around the world. And number one, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And this is where you really have to pay attention. You really have to step back and go, is this true? So you can put the word truth Is this, just say truth.
Yeah.
Is this lovey-dovey man really exist? Truth. Does that really work? Truth. Is this the best decision I make? And you're going to get an answer. However that answer shows up. More often than not, like for me, I'll hear, if I say truth, should I do this? And sometimes I get woozy. Sometimes I'll get an immediate no. Sometimes it's an immediate yes. Truth. Is this person telling me the truth? And if you get a no, that's your answer. So you can put the word truth in front of anything, and it doesn't matter what, and your body is going to tell you one way, shape, or form, yes or no, true or not true. I hope that
Yeah,
helps.
that's great. The idea behind that question is this, when emotions go up, logic goes down. And we want to make sure that when we're trying to access, what I'm hearing from you, this part of ourselves that is deeper, feeling that calm, really connecting with ourselves, that there's not emotion sneaking in there and swaying that. So I love this idea of adding truth and helping even distinguish if you believe this decision in a way.
Well, and you can also stop and really step back in a physical way, as in time. If someone, like from my decision making process, if someone's like, you have to do this, you have to jump on this now, and I'm like, that's an immediate no for me. Even if it's the right thing for me, that's an immediate no, because I need to step back and go, okay, how does this fit in? So you can ask yourself all sorts of questions. I'm like, is it truth? Is it true that this 20-something-year-old male and in a family's member who had that exact same thing happen, were like, I had to ask myself, truth, is this little sweetheart of a girl that you only see a picture this big really loving my family member? And it's like, it was a no. And then it's like, okay, you have to talk with that you have to talk with that family member, going, maybe this is a scam. But so you can physically give yourself some time. And if you feel that pressure, especially if you're being pressured, you're like, I have to take some time with this. So give yourself permission to step back, either physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, and go, and then start asking yourself some questions. So you're taking yourself out of the emotion, and especially the emotion of the moment, where we all get caught up, because we've all done that.
Yeah.
We've all got caught up and been swayed in the moment. First of all, give yourself permission to forgive yourself, because we're human. We are going to make some good or some bad decisions, depending on how you attach good or bad to them. Or you can think about them as learning experiences. But step back and say, truth, is this really working for me? Or truth, does this person really love me? And your body's going to tell you. So you're accessing parts of your brain that's telling your body what is the right answer for you and the right decision for you. Does that make sense?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's wonderful. And Darlene saying thank you. This is awesome. I fully agree. Do you have more for us?
I do. Oh my gosh, we've been here 25 minutes already. The other technique is what else is possible. I love this technique because you're not really looking to answer a question. You're not really looking to make a decision. You are activating basically the law of attraction. Yep. In this moment. And I'm going to give you an example of it and how I used what else is possible to get what I needed and get what I wanted. So basically, activating the law of attraction means you're putting your energy out there. You're giving the universe, you're giving creation, whatever you want to call it, the question, what else is possible here? So you have choice A, choice B, choice D, choice C, and you're like, oh, but choice A is the best one for me. And Well, that's the best one for you in that moment. So what possibly could be better for you out there that we're not getting and we're not seeing in that moment? So if you just ask what else is possible, and because when you're in the question, the energy keeps running. When you've made that decision, the energy stops. So as an example of this, I volunteer for a charity here in Iowa called Help a Heart. So this charity does silent auctions. Well, it did prior to the pandemic, for children, to raise funds for children, for families who have children in the hospitals with congenital heart defect. So we pay mortgages and we pay gas and food and things like that. And my job here in Iowa City was to go around the city and collect donations, because the silent auction was in another city. And I went literally across the street from where I am now, to a gym. And I knew the owner. It was a beautiful gym. I knew the owner, but he wasn't there that day. And the young lady at the counter was like, well, the marketing director's here. Would you like to speak to her? And I was like, okay, what else is possible? What else is possible here? And I gave her my spiel. I showed her my little ticket that said we are actually a federally recognized charity and all your donations are tax deductible. And she's like, I'm not having it. She's like, nothing. She was not having it. She was not swayed by these little kids in the hospital. And I'm in my head, I'm going, what else is possible? What else is possible? And because I really want this donation. And I hear ask for a tour. And as soon as I asked for a tour, she's like all lit up and blah, blah, blah. We were walking around the gym, and and all the time in the back of my head, I'm going, what else is possible here? What else is possible? I'd like this donation, but what else is possible? And I heard, tell her your story. And I'm like, what do you mean, tell her my story? So this is a conversation I have going on in my head. What do you mean, tell her your story? Tell your story with your brother. And I was like, oh. And at that time, my brother had a stroke in December. And the doctor said someone needs to stay with him 24/7. And that was me, because I had quit my job a couple years earlier, actually. And I had been taking care of family members. And so I stayed in the hospital for 3 months with my brother. He was my younger brother. And I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have anywhere to exercise. I was walking up and down the stairs of the hospital just to move. And when I told her that, the lights went off in her head. And she's like, I know the director of the children's hospital. So in her world, it became, she could market her gym to the family members. And the gym was actually only 8 minutes away from the hospitals. So it was very close. And she's like, go out into the lobby. And she was very direct. Go out into the lobby. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll hang out in the lobby. And she came out with a month membership and day passes and weekly passes. And that was like really popular, because most of the family members were at the University of Iowa hospitals and clinics. So if I had just went, okay, thanks for your time, and left, I would have never gotten the donation. But all I kept doing was asking what else is possible. So when you're making a decision, even though you've come to a decision, you can still ask what else is possible, because there may be something even better that we hadn't even considered for the universe, for the law of attraction to bring to us. So explore with that, have fun with that. What else is possible? Even if it's a horrible thing going on in your life, what else is possible? Help me. What else is possible?
I love that for so many reasons. Both for like the amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. And, also when we talk about decisions, I think people often can feel trapped in this idea of there's option A and there's option B, and that's it. Right. And this could be potentially more daunting too, to go, well, what else is out there? But once you said, trusting yourself, asking for possibilities, having this backup of understanding your truth and what you're bringing out there. Now the world is your oyster. There's so many possibilities out there.
It is. And one of the things that because I'm a very serious person, I'm pretty much a get it done. If we have a task to do, get it done and then move on. So what this helps me do is it helps me learn to play in an adult way. not in a I'm going to just go sit out and play in the dirt and ignore all of my responsibilities.
Yeah.
Well, it's frozen here right now, so couldn't do that anyway. But it helps me play in a place and time in a way that responds to my adulthood. So, I mean, I have my clients play all the time because we lost our ability to play. And that's how, as children, that's how we learned. We learned through play. So go out and play, go out and explore all of this incredible energy that is literally, as you said, at your disposal.
Yeah, play is amazingly healthy for the mind. And I hate to wrap it up, but we have to wrap it up on that one. From what I understand, though, you do have a gift that you can share with people.
Yes, we're going to put it in the chat or in the description.
In the comments.
I don't know how to do that, but
I'll do that.
I have what I call a magical money meditation. It is 5 minutes a day, and you can explore the energy of money, where you become one with money and learn how to attract it to you. It's really quite fun.
I think a lot of people like attracting money. Well, thank you. That's so generous, and thank you so much for being here today. This was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun, and I got more, so we could do it again.
Excellent. Well, we will keep that in mind, and for now, we'll say thank you and see you next week.
All right.